Welcome back to Indigo Moon. So today let us look at Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy was once a radio show. Then it turned into a television show. Then it turned into a movie. Now Dick Tracy came out in 1946 and he was famous for his radio watch where the crimes would be committed and the police officers would radio it in, and the police detective, Dick Tracy, would get on the scene and he would solve the case. So let's look at this. Now, growing up, I had older siblings, and they weren't much for reading, but I was. I was a reader, and I loved to explore, So Dick Tracy was right up my alley. And although my brother had these comic books and he didn't want anyone to touch them, he didn't read them. So I figured I should read it. So I started reading a little bit of his comic books. Now, Dick Tracy wasn't the only comic book he had. He had a lot of different comic books. Wonder Woman, all his different superheroes. And you already know my history with superheroes. So at this point in time, I was still very happy and very excited about the superheroes. And Dick Tracy, to me, was also a superhero because Dick Tracy was also a person who solved the different cases that the police could never seem to figure out. One of the greatest things about that was that along with, we have modern technology right now. Dick Tracy didn't need all that modern technology to figure things out. His watch, he did his research at back at his office. And the thing that's really very interesting outside of, like I said, his watch was actually, if it had not been for his watch, he wouldn't have a cell phone watch right now. That's how famous his watch was. Again, his radio watch would pick up on different things that were going on in the area. But then Hitachi came out with a version of it in 2020. And of course, now we have the Apple Watch, okay? So let us begin to really look at this. Now, of course, my siblings, I also have a younger brother. My youngest brother used to collect comic books as well. And he became more of a reader because my sister and I, all of us, we were on a family trip one time. And during this family trip, excuse me for the noise in the background, people are working on the landscaping. But we were on this family trip, and while on this family trip, my youngest brother was doing nothing in the car. And since he was doing nothing in the vehicle, he needed to make sure that, he wanted something that would, help the time go by fast, because you can't keep asking the parents, are we there yet, right? So, of course, my sister and I were reading different books. I think I was reading Toni, what is her name? I know I was reading a book based upon, I think the same character for Terry McMillan. I was reading a book for Terry McMillan. And my sister was reading another book. I think she was reading The Coldest Winter Ever. And we would trade the books when we were finished if I hadn't read her book or she hadn't read my book. And basically we were on this trip, and since we were talking about these different books, my brother got interested. So that's what started him, my youngest brother, in reading. My younger brother under me, he was a reader because I used to have to read books to him or show him pictures when my father would drop us off at the library. My father would use the library as a babysitting service, and he would go to his business meeting and leave us at the library. And sometimes, on more than one occasion, he would forget we were at the library, and the police would take us to the station, and then he'd come and pick us up. Reading is a very important thing. Now, of course, like I said, I'm reading a book now, so you already know. And the book I'm reading actually right now is I Love Me More, which is an excellent book. I think it's by Jenna Brady, or Bradley is her last name. Either way, I Love Me More. If you Google it, you'll see it's an excellent book. And it's a book on how to love yourself and how to really figure out different ways in which to not only solve problems, but to basically get to know you better so that you can actually heal in different ways, okay? So let us not forget that, okay? So again, Dick Tracy, it's important that we look at certain things. We have a lot of people who might want to go into detective work. Dick Tracy, if you watch the movies or you watch the cartoons, they're fun and everything, but when you actually read the comic book, it gives you more insight, more research. So those people who are planning on being detectives one day, they might want to look at that comic book and really, give it a try. So basically, like I said, I just wanted to make sure that I came on to share this comic book experience, because comic books don't give you a lot of reading to do, and it's easy for you to hold or carry with you wherever you go. Like I said, my older brothers were not readers, and this is the reason why I worked on my younger brothers to try to set a good example and help them to become readers. Because it's important, we all have to read sooner or later. And it's important that we we take an interest in doing so. All right? So I know I went on for a while here. Thank you so much for joining us here at Indigo Moon, where it is important that we read.